So the second use case on recommenders will be from this very house, from Ekstra Bladet. Johannes Kruse, industrial PhD, will tell us about what is coming and how to enhance the experience with the recommender systems. Please.
Hello, hello. Everyone can hear me? I'm very glad to be here. As just introduced, my name is Johannes. I'm an industrial PhD. I work here at Ekstra Bladet in collaboration with the Technical University of Denmark. So I'll just jump right to it. Oh, there's a screen over there. All right, I'll figure it out. I can stand here. All right, excellent. I'll just tell you quickly about the agenda. Short, who's Ekstra Bladet? What is the PIN project? And how we using news recommendation to enhance the experience here at Ekstra Bladet. I'll also present some of the results we got the first time we implemented the recommender systems, which could be encouragement for people considering going in, and some of the stuff that we are brewing on. So quickly, Ekstra Bladet is a Danish news Danish tabloid newspaper, and it's old, and it's right here. We've been here for a long time. We have a lot of users coming every day, which means that we're generating a lot of impressions, a lot of data. And for someone like me, I'm on the technical side, and I really like a lot of data because you can hopefully do some cool stuff with it. So good for me. The PIN project. I think Kasper already introduced the PIN project, so I can just tell you that I'm on the recommender part. Doing the technical, so finding the systems we want to implement and implementing. So for someone not necessarily into what the technical is, I'm the guy who codes. Yeah. Briefly, high level for everyone who haven't had the big experience with recommender systems. You can classically say there's two types. There's collaborative filtering and there's content. Content-based filtering is when I find items that I have already read and find things that are similar to that. Whereas collaborative filtering is when I find another person who might look like me and I saw that that person liked something, I might like that too. That's all you need to know about recommender systems for now. I'll come into these a little bit later. We like to say that here at Ekstra Bladet, we're like Netflix, but we're not like Netflix. Meaning that we want to use recommender systems, but it's a different field, meaning that we recommend news. And news are constantly being published, and let's say that Manchester United scored right now is relevant, but in an hour, nobody cares. Whereas a good movie will last forever. What did I put here? Yeah, the user shift. What my interest is in the morning might not be the same in the afternoon. Also, there might be an election or something. So the interest of a user can shift fairly quick. When we collect data, we collect clicks, which is implicit for something we will say, oh, you might like this. Just because you clicked it doesn't mean you liked it. But that's the best we got, at least here at Ekstra Bladet. We don't get explicit feedback that we really love this story. That would be great, but for now it's just the clicks. This was true not too long ago, but it is enhancing a lot. But a few years back, a year and two, when we started, some of the technologies, since we're news-driven, we use natural language processing, where languages such as English, it's much more modern. Like, the technologies are a lot better there, but it is definitely improving, and they are really good at Danish as well now. And then something like we like to talk about is the alignment of the recommender systems we put out there and the editorial values, something I'll refer to as normative thinking. And this is important for us because we want to be responsible for the things we put out there. And I've already had this discussion many times, but what is editorial values, and sometimes what is diversity and what is a lot of these definitions. It's hard to define, but that's something that the company themselves often have to define. And we have tried to come up with some of them. Just to give you an idea how it is to be at ekstrabladet.dk. So we have two core pages right now. We have a front page, and just like many other news organizations, it's very much front page driven, meaning that a user goes to the front page, they find a nice article, they read it, and go back to the front page. This is a problem because we produce a lot of really interesting articles, but we can't fit all of that into a front page. So what do? We have tried to implement this recommender in this flow. So when you're on the front page now, you will get this For You list, meaning that now when you're on the front page, we will start introducing recommendations based on your behavior. So, which will help us provide more of the articles that normally wouldn't fit into the front page and are tailored for you. We have also tried to implement a related article. This is NLP, it's more similarity driven. So if you're on an article about the Prime Minister and you like the story, you might like a story that's very similar or a similar event to this. So now when you've finished the article, you'll be presented with something that's related to that article. So we have a few goals on PIN, but here's one of them. So we would like to widen the news discovery while also deepening the news flow. So when you're reading, you get to read deeper into that story. We also want to talk about these normative thinking and this alignment. So we're bringing it up here, so everyone will start thinking about them. And it's costly to put recommender systems into production and developing these. Sorry, it is. But therefore, it has to be profitable as well. So we also have some KPIs. We would like people to, when we implement these, we want people to click more, and we would like to convert more sales. Who doesn't? So this is some of the results we got from last year when we implemented these the first time. So spoiler alert, on the first KPI, we saw that we were able to, without having a recommender system with a baseline, we could increase the number of clicks on the free articles with a factor of 2.7. On the paid stuff, this is on segments. So, of course, like everyone else, we have logged in, we have users with long history and so on. So this is on some of the segments. We're also able to see a significant increase in clicked on the paid stuff on some of our segments. And on our third KPI, sales, we're also able to convert more people to actually signing up, not just reading all the nice article, but actually starting paying for it. So this was really nice to see that coming from no recommenders to recommenders, we were able to get some nice results that we could then take forward, and I think people were happy to see conversions like this. And you might ask, couldn't we have pushed this even harder? And yes, that is probably true, but there we come back to the normative thinking. So we need to align, and that could be, this is probably a no-brainer, but we don't recommend stuff to people who don't want recommendations. So you can opt out. So of course we could just push it to everyone, but we don't. We also limit the type of content that we recommend. So there might be stories, there might be events, there might be some things that we don't want to recommend, and we decide that. So we can blacklist that, and we do. We want to promote recency, meaning that we don't want to recommend old articles, because this is the Ekstra Bladet DNA to come up with the new stories from today. So we want to promote that, and that has some challenges as well. And we also would like the recommenders to have the editorial profile. And it could be, instead of just having a recommender recommending sports, because we know that a lot of the people would like to see sport. We want all our stories to be recommended. And this is important for us, so we try to enforce that as well. So that's just some ideas to how you could actually make normative thinking concrete. But that is very dependent on your company and your situation. So an interesting little thing we saw when we have done these results was that here's the two models I mentioned. We had a collaborative filtering and a content-based. You can see the CTR are very similar, around 6%. But what we found was interesting was that the distribution of what they were recommending were very different. So many ways to run. Whereas our baseline, which was we took the most popular articles, the distribution of the most popular articles, which has a lot worse CTR rate, click-through rate, had a very similar distribution as the collaborative model. Whereas the random had a similar distribution to the content. This was interesting because we have two different models acting completely different, reaching the same CTR. So knowing this, we know that collaborative filtering has a popularity bias, and content-based has something called low serendipity. Come and ask me afterwards if you need to have all the terms explained or want to know more. But what we saw was that, is this a bug? Is it an issue? We think it's a feature, at least if you use it correctly. So now we have two models with two different properties we can use in different scenarios that users like. So this is why it's interesting to test different models, different methods, and to evaluate them afterwards. So I'm just gonna show some of the other cool stuff that we're working on right now. So this one is, I'm working right now, hopefully reaching a deadline here in the end of this month. We're open sourcing a data set for research purposes. We'll come with an evaluation framework for just the regular, but also something called Beyond Accuracy, where we'll try to promote diversity and so on to push that agenda. Then we would like to have, we only had these in this horizontal, like little recommendations. We'd like to integrate it in vertical flow. It's a little more tricky, but that is something we're striving to test. We also would like to build this control center. So instead of us in the tech sitting with the recommenders doing stuff, we would like to hand it over to the editorial board so they can play around with it. So we need to talk with them, what would they like to control, so on. But ideally, we would like to give this technology to them, because it's, in the end, it's them who decides what comes on the website. It shouldn't be the tech guys. Also, we try to promote this normative thinking, or just healthy norm setting in general. So we are very transparent. Every time you meet AI on Ekstra Bladet, we will notify you and you can read about it. We try to develop this, what do you call it? Yeah, value compass to help us make decisions. When it makes sense, we open source and public our results for others to gain value from. We have had similar events like this, also here. And this one in particular I'm very excited about. So this year, Ekstra Bladet will co-organize a workshop at the international conference at Rexis in Singapore, where I'll go and promote normativity at the workshop Normalize. So there's a call for papers. So if you want to promote something, please consider applying. Or that is all for me. Thank you very much for your attention.
Now, Johannes, you come from the technical side.
Yes.
And now you meet newsrooms and journalists. Always funny, right? And basically the message that you got to them is the machine is better than you. They can do stuff. If you pull the right levers, you'll have a better result, right?
When you scale it out, when you want to reach 1 million people, the machine might be better than you. But if you were to target one specific person, the human might still beat it. But the human would need to know that person and all that. So scaling out, the machine seems to win.
Okay, so you work at Ekstra Bladet, which of
Yes.
course is a wonderful tabloid and a wonderful organization, but also, not judging, but a little bit conservative organization sometimes.
I'll let
And
you
here
judge.
comes you entering the guy in the t-shirt from the tech side.
Yes.
So what have you learned about integrating these kind of tools in a newsroom? Do they need more training? How do they react? What is the key to make this into a great experience for all of them? Or at least just only good?
So you're thinking how the journalists like this technology?
Yeah.
So we've spent a lot of time building it, and we have finally built it now, where we can start to scale up. I think this can help the website and the news. So recommender systems in general are put in the world to help users find articles they like. So I think this is an opportunity for journalists who can't write an article that goes on the front page, but they have an audience. So I think this is something that everyone can benefit from, both the user and the journalist who writes an article but can't get on the front page and therefore nobody will see it.
Okay, so enhancing what's in it for the journalist works when you want to apply it.
Yes.
Okay, questions?
That's
yes,
the ideal. Yeah.
please. And it's one there.
Thank you. Hi, my name is Birgir. I'm from RÚV in Iceland, the national broadcasting company. You told us about there was similar CTR from the content-based filtering recommendations and the collaborative.
Yeah.
Was that as expected? Yeah, how did you think it would go beforehand? And do you think it was like a disappointment that it didn't work as well as the other one?
We were expecting that the content-based would win. Just because, so the two different models are trained differently. So the collaborative, because it has something called a cold start, you need to retrain it all the time. So that one we trained over and over again, whereas the content learns about you, and you are more constant. So we were expecting, but not knowing, the content base to have an edge. But at least for the setup we had last year, they were competing on the same level. We have also learned a lot during that process. So just like what's the right amount of training data, etc. There's still probably more to win, hopefully. So yeah, the results are the results. So we were happy that they were both beating the bench line. So if not, that would have been disappointing.
Right. Okay, thank you, Johannes. Please give him a hand.